I guess I also don't understand like crypto.com. They're jumping into this feet first. FTX has been doing the same thing with Miami Heat Arena. So obviously there's a lot of parallels there. The crypto is moving into the sports movement. We've seen a lot of gambling ads out there nowadays where they're also kind of pushing and pulling like gambling, sports, crypto all together here. The thing I don't understand is why Staples gave up this, because it is iconic, just like you said, Zach. Like Staples Center is very iconic in NBA land. And it's also an arena that most people know about, even if they're not into sports. Like I bet Naomi even knows about Staples Center. So it's kind of odd that they gave up on that. Crypto.com jumping into it feet first. That's a lot of money, $700 million. Naomi, I'll throw it up to you.
You presume a lot of me, Will. I like that you think of me so highly. I don't pay attention.
Maybe you know the Staples Center. Taylor Swift has performed there, I'm pretty sure.
Definitely.
You know it.
Yeah.
I've never seen Taylor perform there. I've seen Taylor perform at other arenas, but you know, I mean, one thing about Staples, like why wouldn't they hold on to it? Isn't Staples a dying brand? I mean, I don't want to like throw that out there, but we're moving into the digital world. A lot of their stuff is very like office supply, not virtual remote work stuff. Like it's all paper and pens. Like, am I completely misunderstanding their business model? Maybe Zach, you can fill me in there. Like I would be surprised if they could afford to keep naming rights on a giant stadium like that and not take a very lucrative naming off of it. Sorry, Zach.
Got it. So the story there is that the ownership group of the facility itself, which hosts, the LA Lakers, most famously, the LA Kings of the National Hockey League, I think the LA Clippers, also of the NBA, and big time events and gala events. So they purchased back the naming rights a couple of years ago. So they retained the naming rights and were apparently entertaining offers. And Crypto.com came in with a big offer and came in with a 20-year offer for a lofty sum. And that is why, starting on Christmas Day in a game against the Brooklyn Nets, Staples Center will thereafter be known as the Crypto.com Arena. But I'll throw it to Will and then down to Jen.
Oh, gosh, I forgot totally what I was going to say.
I just have a real quick question.
Naomi, go.
Will, I'll throw it to you after, but is it Crypto.com Arena or is it Crypto.com Arena? Because I saw it written multiple ways and it's like... I don't know. The Crypto.com right? Arena is kind of like...
I think it would be Crypto.com.
It's not as catchy as Staples Center. But, I remember what I was going to say. 20-year lease. A 20-year lease on the naming rights, that's pretty long. Like, Bitcoin's been around for 12, 13 years now. Like, they're super bullish. Yeah. That's the most bullish signing in history, right? 20-year deal.
Well, I think, you mentioned FTX, right, which is now the FTX Arena in Miami. That was something like in the teens, maybe like a 17-year deal. I have to check that. But it was also not reported to be as much as 700 million, but definitely a long-term thing, suggesting that these folks believe that they will be around for the long term. Of course, the parallel here is a dot-com bubble of the early aughts, right? Now, what is now known as Gillette Field in the New England area, home of the New England Patriots. I'm going to botch the name of this, but there was a failed tech startup that in my brain was NGMI Technologies, but it was not NGMI Technologies, but indeed they did not make it. And they were dead, a victim of the dot-com bubble before the Patriots could even play a game under that name. So there's people who are drawing parallels to that, and whether or not these crypto naming rights deals will be the next wave of dot-com bubble naming deals, that's still very much an open question. But yeah, Will, you're right. I mean, they're betting for the long term that they're going to be around, but sometimes it always doesn't work out. I saw Jen. I'm really curious for her thoughts.
I just want to say I still give Staples 20 cents every time I need to print something, which is once every 3 months. So yeah, I don't know if I obviously haven't taken a look at Staples financials. Yeah, so I don't know if they would have been able to put in $700 million for this, but as Zach said, that the arena was entertaining other offers. I wanted to point to some other news that came out. NYDIG's partnership with the Houston Rockets. I think that was a few days ago we learned about that. And they're naming some of the suites in that arena. I believe it is called, what's it called, Zach? The Toyota Center Bitcoin Suites. And so this is just like... my mind is blown. I mean, the VIP suites are being called Bitcoin suites. The Staples Center is now the Crypto.com Center. It is a wild time to be alive.
I will be
It's a little cringy.
selling the naming rights to my next cat. So if you guys wanted to
No one
submit
wants that.
offers, I'm entertaining offers right now. Send those in. You could have maybe like depending on the breed, maybe like a 15-year naming right if it's like a ragdoll cat. So just show me up with those. I mean, like,
we can ensure the cat makes an appearance on the show as well.
Time.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We'll spin up a DAO. It'll be me, Will, Jen, and all the YouTube commenters. We'll spin up a DAO. We're going to name it Naomi's Cat DAO, and we are going to go big in sealing this deal. All right. Interesting stuff in sports and crypto. There will be more news there, I am sure. We're going to change gears and throw it to Will for our next story of the day. Will.
Let's keep talking money. Money time. Money, money, money. Consensys is just raised $200 million to hire 400 new people. That raises their valuation to $3.2 billion. Consensys, of course, is a Brooklyn startup run by Joe Lubin, who is one of the Ethereum co-founders and has been basically the war chest guy for Ethereum. He's built a lot of products, or at least funded them, from MetaMask to Truffle. A lot of developers use these products every day, and they've been doing very well during this bull run. Zach, it's crazy to look at this funding round and look at 400 people they're trying to hire. Back in 2018, 2019, Ian Allison and others at CoinDesk had some great reporting on how Consensys was struggling to keep going during the bear market there. And now they're back and they're doing better than ever, and they have a lot of money here. What's your take on this, this bounce back story?
Yeah, longtime observers may see this as a bit of history repeating. I know I did when I edited this piece. Credit to Danny Nelson for talking to the Consensys team and getting some of these hiring plans on the record. But you're right, Will. As you remember, this is a company that surged to prominence, hired super fast, probably too fast than was prudent, and then had to suffer through some pretty significant layoffs for a number of years there as Ether, the price of Ether, tanked back in 18-19. So the fact that they're back on the hiring wagon is notable, but does suggest sort of interesting parallels to what happened during the last bull run, right? Where Ether was surging, the promise of this technology was large, Consensys ramped up to seize that opportunity and didn't quite hit the mark and ended up having to go through some pretty painful cutbacks. So interesting to see this turnaround. They remain a super duper important part of the Ethereum ecosystem. Just like if you just look at Infura, which is a backend service provider that supports a lot of the dApps in the space, and you look at MetaMask, which is how a lot of people, I might even say most, interact with Web3 at present. They really are a key cog in the Ethereum world. And so, the 3.2 billion valuation certainly deserved and maybe a little bit on the low side when you think about how big of a force Consensys remains in making sure that Ethereum still works. So interesting to see that they're back, they're growing, they got some fresh money on the table, and now they're gonna again try to seize the day as Web3 sort of takes that next step. So interesting stuff. Jen, curious for your thoughts.
Yeah, I wanted to point to some of the investors in this round. So third point, Marshall Wallace, HSBC, not the usual contenders we see when we're talking about these massive rounds, especially over the last few weeks. We've been talking about billions of dollars. And there's a quote in an article published by Bloomberg from Joe Lubin, Consensys CEO. He says, "These partners will help us stay close to the bleeding edge of our ecosystem. It's really important to us that not only these investors come from traditional finance and DeFi, but they are also based in different regions of the world, helping us accelerate the global adoption of Web3. And so that, I think, gives us a little look into how they're seeing the future. But I also think there's probably a strategic play here for some financial players and tech players who have a good standing relationship with regulators. So I think we can watch those partnerships. But Naomi, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, I just wanted to read a quote from Consensys Chief Strategy Officer Simon Morris, who said that there is a war for talent going on and they're going to make sure that they can grow their team. This is not just a war in crypto. Let's be mindful, Silicon Valley right now is fighting for people. So many companies are moving into the digital realm. Programmers are needed more than ever. And it's really difficult to hire for most tech companies right now to find that talent. And so it's no surprise to me that the companies with a lot of investment capital are just putting that towards hiring and trying to get the best talent possible. It's what we're witnessing at the moment is really a changing skill set. People needing to retrain, go into this new area is what happens when you have any sort of technological innovation innovation. You just need huge training for large swaths of people. And it's currently just, we're not there yet. We don't have the numbers in order to fill all of these jobs that all these companies are looking for. And so it's very interesting to watch this shift happen in real time and to kind of see this whole digital transition occur. So we'll see who's going to be successful out of that, because whoever can attract that talent is really going to come out on top. But let's go to a break. Zach, what have we got coming up next?
Let's go to a break. Let's go back to Hollywood. We started off with the Staples Center. Let's go visit with Quentin Tarantino, director of Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill, and others. He's getting sued by MIRAMAX for trying to do an exclusive NFT drop. That's no fun. Stick with us. We'll talk about it after the break. What the hell?
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to The Hash. I'm just reading some other breaking news, so I'm going to go to this India story in a moment, and I'm so sorry, Control, because I literally just found this out in the comments section of our YouTube stream. Thank you, people there. So Perth Heat, I'm from Perth, Australia, and Perth Heat is our baseball team there. Apparently, they are the first team in the world to pay their players and staff in Bitcoin. What? This came out of left field. I think that's
Shout
like
a
sport pun
Australian
there that
baseball.
I just used. I don't really understand it because I'm not much of a sporty person. But that's really interesting to see that they're now, paying their players and staff in Bitcoin. I wonder if that's like an opt-in thing. I wonder if that's like everyone is kind of lumped together. Like, it's very interesting. So I'll dive into details and we'll report. But I did want to mention that because it seems like pretty huge news on that front. But let's head over to India now and see what's going on there. The opposite of embracing cryptocurrency. So India is indeed banning crypto as a payment method, but they are regulating it as an asset. So this interesting situation where they think that, if we can define it as not currency, people will stop thinking of it like a currency and they'll think of it like an asset. All we need to do is just change these legal definitions and our regulation around it, and then that it will change being the asset that it is. It's kind of like saying, like, it's like saying that, no, this is a vase, not a crack pipe, right? Because we're going to define it as a vase. It's like, well, people are still going to use it as a crack pipe. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I'm going to throw it to the group here for your thoughts. Will, what's your thought on what's going on in India? Because this has been going on for forever.
That was an amazing analogy.
There's a lot going on. Crack pipes, baseball. Where are we right now, Naomi?
What?
I'm sorry. Like in those service
What were you doing
stations
before
where
the show?
they sell all those things that everyone knows is a crack pipe, but they're selling it as like, oh, it's a shoelace case. Oh, it's a rose in a case. It's but people actually. Anyway,
Where is
moving
this
on,
happening?
guys. Let's just breeze past this.
Wow, I wanna go
We'll
to that
turn it back to you.
That was so good. No, okay. Yes, getting back to the story, the very important story here. So India has always had like a very mixed relationship with crypto. Just like we've seen the China ban with Bitcoin, it's the same thing with India. Every month, there's some sort of ban coming out about it. If you dig into the weeds and really get into how the government structure works there, it's a lot more complex than the headlines read. There's a lot of different bodies that govern crypto or that could govern crypto. And I think like most other governments around the world, they're trying to figure out what Bitcoin is in the first place and then how to define it. Some interesting notes in this is that they don't want exchanges or other crypto products to be able to solicit to Indian investors. I think the big thing with that is the failure we've seen in the US and other places where a lot of these products come out, they solicit themselves to investors who aren't very savvy with products, and then they get pumped and dumped really quickly. That was the legacy of the 2017, 2018 ICO boom, and we have seen glimmers of it so far with this NFT craze. I think the Indian government is just a little bit more conservative, and they want to protect their people from that. Doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with it or that it's like the way to go, but it's what they kind of value. Another interesting note is that the exchanges there are looking for a regulatory sandbox that would be governed by a body in the Indian government there. We'll see if that happens. That's a pretty common use case for governments going forward. We've seen a lot of these sandboxes, especially in like offshore government areas. Sometimes they're helpful, sometimes not. I think we've seen the big winners are people like Binance and FTX who just say, screw it, let's just grow and see what happens later. Zach, I'll throw it down to you, though. This is a pretty complex story.
Yeah, I mean, it gets to sort of this tension between, crypto as a payment and crypto as an asset, right? It was sort of initially envisioned as a payment, and sort of momentum accrued around it as an asset. So it's interesting to see this sort of being codified into policy somehow. But again, I'm with the crack pipe metaphor. It's going to be hard to figure out what is what here and what is being used. Like one, I just don't know. It's hard to parse this out. But it is interesting to see India continue to be pretty active when it comes to their conservative stance on the crypto industry writ large. So a lot going on, but I'll toss it to Jen for her take.
Yeah, so part of the story was talking about the ban on crypto advertisements because they mislead the youth. And this immediately made me think of Chingari, so India's version of TikTok, which we've spoken about on this show before. And their integration with the Solana blockchain. So they're supposed to launch the Gari token, which will allow creators on the platform to have e-commerce, launch NFT projects. And I wonder how this law, or if regulators are even thinking about tokens like this, might impact that project. And I know no one here probably has any answers for me, but I just wonder.
Sorry. I wonder too.
Yeah, I wonder.
Can we talk about the Australian Baseball League again? That was fun.
Yeah, let's go back to Australia.
Are we going back to
We're
Australia?
done with India.
Yeah. Do they need any watchdog?
Just downers when it comes to crypto. Yeah, I mean, we can. Cool. I'm just looking at this report here. So the payments I've since found out in Bitcoin are not believed to be mandatory, which may come as a relief to some who may not want to get involved. But it is awesome that they're giving that opportunity to different players and staff members there. I think that's pretty cool. So thank you to our YouTube comment section. You were hired as our assistant reporters here, keeping up with all of this. So this came from David Lynn. So David Lynn, thank you for that heads up. Let's change track. And Jen, what's going on in Hollywood?
Well, I want to talk about that in a second, but David Lynn is really a super fan. He is all over Twitter, all over our YouTube comments. So shout out to David Lynn. And Zach, correct me if I'm wrong, but this NYDIG partnership with the Houston Rockets, I think they're also getting paid in Bitcoin. Is that right? I
saw something about that, but I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, okay. It's good stuff.
To be confirmed.
NYDIG, they got some Bitcoin lying around.
Yeah. All right. So we're off to Hollywood now. MIRAMAX is filing a lawsuit against Quentin Tarantino for copyright infringement by selling NFTs based on the screenplay for Pulp Fiction. So Tarantino announced at NFT NYC that he'd be auctioning NFTs of exclusive scenes from the film based on excerpts from his original handwritten script and accompanied by commentary. So this is an interesting I think, legal look at NFTs, right? Because the contract that Quentin Tarantino signed way back when in the 90s, the lawyers creating that contract would have had no idea what NFTs were and how they would impact the entertainment industry. And so now we're trying to figure it out. And I feel like soon we're going to get precedent set in one of these cases between a big publishing house or a big media house and a creator like Quentin Tarantino. And that's how we're going to move forward. So he's trying to say that in his original contract, he retained the rights to publish the screenplay. And him launching this NFT is him publishing the screenplay. MIRAMAX thinks that that is not the case. So, Naomi, I'm going to throw this down to you. What do you I think Quentin Tarantino has a case.
I think he does too. I mean, reading this, I think that MIRAMAX is full of it. I mean, are they honestly saying that, NFT use case was excluded from our 1994 agreement? They literally sold the rights to republish the script to Quentin Tarantino. He now has the rights and he's published it as an NFT. And they're saying, well, publishing it specifically as an NFT wasn't covered in that sale. It's like, of course, because it was 1994 and NFTs weren't a thing, Miramax. So I'm on Quentin Tarantino's side here, just from the very superficial understanding we have of this case. Maybe there's more nuance to it. Maybe there's like fine print here that we don't know about that says like something to do with like merchandising around it or anything that's like bundles the script with some sort of merchandise, or, you know, we don't really know what's going on there. But that would be very strange, a strange specific thing to see there. But Will, I'll throw to you for your take.
Yeah, I'm surprised Miramax and Tarantino couldn't foresee this NFT craze back in 1994.
I know. What was wrong with them?
Like, what were they? They should have thought about this. This should have been in the fine print already. I don't know who's right or wrong on this one, but it is cool to see that there's like ways to use NFTs that kind of make more sense. So if you read the article and like look through it, there's deleted scenes that people with NFTs get access to. It's kind of a nice feature that you wouldn't have otherwise, and kind of extends that idea of NFTs as some sort of like digital ownership with a little perk attached to it. So that's kind of cool. I don't really know. I don't have a stance on the Tarantino versus Miramax thing. Like, it's too early to draw battle lines here. I won't jump on it like Naomi is.
You're not like carving out your allegiance. I'm immediately on Quentin Tarantino's side.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Pick a side, Will.
They're both rich. They're both doing fine. Zach, I'll give it to you.
I just want to do a recreation of the Sam Jackson "Say What" one more time. I double dog dare you. Say NFT. Say NFT again. Say NFT one more time. Double dog dare you. Anyway, intellectual property is intellectual property is intellectual property. And I think, the lawyers here see it as thus. And these studios shell out a bunch of money to sign people to big contracts, be they filmmakers, musicians, or whatever. And the terms of those contracts often stipulate that whatever intellectual property stems from those arrangements, they retain ownership to those things. So I think this is one of those cases. I think what is happening now with NFTs and stuff like that is the debate and the sort of the impending warfare over intellectual property is about to get really super duper interesting. I think there's a lot of momentum around music NFTs because of this. You sign a record deal, you get grumpy with your record label, you can't retain your masters. Hey, I'm a big enough brand now, and there are opportunities for me to monetize my own brand through these cryptographic technologies. And I think this is an example of that. So kind of for me is just like a sign of the fights to come. But it's always funny to me, like, which NFT projects blow up in one way or the other. And this is one that, again, has sort of like become a big deal all of a sudden after Quentin decided to ape into NFTs. I don't know. Were you at that panel, by the way, Jen, at NFT NYC? In which
I wasn't at this particular one. I was not.
Because it seemed like he was like being educated in real time. It was like, there's so many people with like the image itself, or like the poster. Imagine how many people in their dorm rooms had the poster of Pulp Fiction. And so someone on the panel was sort of articulating to him, well, it's not about, you're not owning the poster. That's just the JPEG. You're owning the rights to that image. And with that comes a lot of responsibility, power, and opportunity. And he was sort of like, okay. And then he was able to do this. So anyway, Naomi, you for the last thoughts, and then we'll wrap this thing.
Just quick last thoughts kind of diving into this is like, we're probably not going to be privy to a lot of the finer details of this, but let's try and piece some things together. So Tarantino apparently owns the rights to publish the film's screenplay, right? So it comes into question what is defined, what is the definition of publish? Is putting it in an NFT, publishing it? Well, that may be fought out in court. And then also this is actually, the NFT is based on excerpts of Tarantino's own original handwritten script for the film, accompanied by a commentary. Like, it does seem like Miramax, like, just again from the outside, is kind of overstepping here. This is a handwritten script done by Tarantino, and he owns the rights to publish the script. And Miramax is coming in and being like, well, we have plans to release our own NFT, and so we're suing you and you should have consulted. Like, it seems very messy, and a lot of this stuff will be fought out in court. But I just wanted to mention that. I've convinced you. Yes, I'm probably like, we don't know anything.
Say it.
I think it's really, Naomi, going to come down to the terms around the rights to publish, right? He may have had the rights to publish, but not the rights to monetize or commercialize the script, which would make more sense, I think. And the handwritten script, unfortunately, when you give the rights to a piece of work, I think all iterations of that work come along with it. So it will be an interesting fight in court.
Absolutely. But Zach, say NFT one more time.
NFT. Boom. That was the end of Zach. All right, cool. That's the end of the show today. We're going to end on that somewhat morbid note. If you know the scene in question, you're welcome. That's it for the hash. We will be back tomorrow. We live to fight another day and talk about the latest in crypto news, getting you up to speed on all that matters 5 days a week, day in, day out, 12 noon Eastern. We'll be here again tomorrow. Check us out then. All right, I'm saying bye.